This is WNEP's Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. Join us for streamside adventures, days in the field with new and old friends. It's all about making memories and following traditions, and exciting hunting experiences with interesting people. We've captured the beauty and majesty of the great outdoors, and it's all next on Pennsylvania Outdoor Life.
Hello everyone and welcome to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. I'm Don Jacobs in the Pennsylvania Outdoor Life cabin. I'm standing in this corner for a reason and I'll get to it in just a moment. How about it? Labor Day weekend. Where did the summer go? You know, there's so much fishing and hunting yet to do. Schools are back. If they're not, you're going back this week. College football, high school football, professional football, so many things. Obviously, the beginning of the dove season now. We're in that, the early goose season. And next Saturday, you could actually take your kid for a walk and go squirrel hunting. Everything's in front of us for our fall sports. Really excited about it. Now, earlier this year, we visited Zoo America at Hershey. Why do we do that? Because they have a resident American marten, also called the pine marten. Tom Keller's in charge of a program in the state of Pennsylvania to possibly look at their reintroduction. But first we thought we'd learn more about an American marten.
Habitat.
So Tom, the last time we were together, you were in charge of the pheasant reintroduction areas. Now you're in charge of something different. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I've taken a few different positions, but now I'm the fur bearer biologist for the Pennsylvania Game Commission. And that just means I oversee, there's 16 different fur bearer species within the state, everything from weasels, the whole way up to coyotes and everything in between. So that's my primary purview with the Game Commission at this point.
Now there's a reason why we're at the Hershey Zoo America.
Yeah.
And it's because of this little critter right here.
That's right.
You're talking a lot about pine martens, maybe reintroducing. We'll get to that in a minute. But
Sure.
Tell me what you know about pine martens. What kind of animal is it?
Yeah. So the American Marten is in the weasel family, and it's actually the same size as the mink, and then very similar in size to the fox squirrel. And so they average about 22, 24 inches, about 2 pounds in weight, and they're very good at climbing trees. They have semi-retractable claws. They can actually run up a tree as quick as they can run across the ground. And so historically, we had American Marten in the state of Pennsylvania, but we lost them about 120 years ago, primarily due to deforestation as well as unregulated harvest.
So we had them. They're no longer here. So how long do they live if they are around?
Yeah, so generally in the wild, average lifespan can range from about a year and a half on average. Now they obviously can live much longer than that, and when we look at harvest records, we can see marten living up to 6, 7 years, 8 years sometimes. In captivity, they can live up to about 15 years.
And do they mate every year? They have young every year?
They do, generally. Now, they have an interesting reproductive process, what they call delayed implantation. And so when they mate, the egg is actually fertilized, but it doesn't immediately implant to the uterine wall, and it floats around in there anywhere from about 180 to 220 days before then it finally attaches to the wall and begins the gestation period.
Like a fisher?
Yeah, very, very much like a fisher, yep.
So the big question that everybody's asking, what do they eat?
That's a
right?
great
I mean,
question. Yeah.
that starts the ball rolling, and are they going to start taking down fawns?
Right.
And what do they eat?
Yeah, so when we looked at diet studies from around the marten range, what we found is that martens primarily eat small mammals. So when we say that, we mean voles and shrews and mice. But then the next largest kind of piece of that overall pie is actually plant material. They eat a large variety of different seeds, both soft and hard mass, and other vegetable matter. And then the third part is actually insects. So in the wild, they eat a lot of insects, and that's a really major portion of their diet. Now, they do eat birds and squirrels and hare and rabbits. They even eat reptiles, amphibians, fish, and carrion. But those are much smaller portions of their diet.
And from what I understand is that they actually hunt under the snow.
They do.
So give me a little geography. Where was the best place for them to go, and how important is snow?
Yeah, snow is extremely important. So when we look at Pennsylvania specifically, we've developed some models to determine where would good habitat be within the state. Most of that is in the northern tier. And a lot of that is because of that high elevation and topography and snowfall. And snowfall is a major portion because they spend most of the winter under the snow, and that's because they're hunting for their primary prey, which is these small mammals, which that's where they go in the wintertime. It also protects them from the winter weather, and it also protects them from their predators, which are primarily birds of prey.
Dale Snyder is the assistant director of Zoo America and has been working with the American Marten for years. So what's happening in the cage right now, Dale?
Right now they're giving Mitzi her morning feed. She likes mice, and it's the main portion of her food.
I'm assuming Mitzi being a female.
Mitzi is a female. Up top, you might be able to see a little bit of Dean up top. He is our male. And they are both over 15 years old, so they're at the really upper end. Mitzi down here is 17.
So I did some research, and you even confirmed it. This is the only real pine marten or American marten in captivity in Pennsylvania.
That's correct, yes, that we're aware of.
So when they eat, they're known to be pretty vicious.
They are pretty vicious, and they don't really like people messing around with their food.
So you've created two different places for them to live. Why aren't they together?
They fight mostly. So we had two males originally that came to us as brothers, and as they aged, they became very aggressive toward each other. So we split the exhibit in half, and we thought it'd be great to bring in a female. Look at her sticking her head out the hole.
They are cute as
They are really
aren't they?
cute. But they both seem to be very solitary in the wild and only come together for the breeding season. So they're more happy being solitary like this.
Any chance of them breeding for you?
They don't really get along very well. So we have not had any luck breeding our marten here at the zoo. But
I love that orange chest.
that color is beautiful. And they each have their own den at night. They're allowed access in. They each have a separate den inside. And they travel through the tubes and things from the different parts of the exhibit to get there.
So habitat for marten, what that looks like is actually this idea of what we call structural complexity. And what that really means is that we have lots of coarse woody debris on the ground, we have an understory, a midstory, and an overstory. And within that overstory, we have lots of trees with cavities, whether they're dead or alive. And what's important about that, it's important for the biology of the marten, but what's really important is that's healthy forest. That's what we're trying to manage for in our forests in Pennsylvania. And that healthy forest is not just important for marten, it's important for grouse and for turkeys, for goshawks and wood rats. And so that's really the key importance of marten, and them acting actually as a flagship or an umbrella species for a healthy forest.
Where are they found right now in North America?
Yeah, so they are across North America. So they are in the upper Midwest, they're actually in the Rockies, in the Canadian provinces, and then the closest populations to us would actually be the Adirondacks in New York, and then up into New England, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire.
So, and again, we're here at Zoo America because, to the best of our knowledge, the only two captive pine martens are right here.
Absolutely.
American martens.
Absolutely.
But you're using the word, and the state's a buzz about this, reintroduction.
Sure.
So let me just be really blunt. Why do we want to reintroduce them?
That's a good question. And so that's something we need to make sure as an agency and as a state that we have very good reasons for. And so when we looked at, okay, do we have good reasons for, there's a variety of reasons that we like to cite. The first is ecologically. This is a missing piece of our overall ecological community. When we don't have these parts and pieces within that community, we see that health of the forest begins to suffer. And as we bring them back, we see the health increase. We have a lot of public support for this project, and that's really important to consider as the social side of things. We know culturally this is an important species to many indigenous peoples in Pennsylvania and many of our ancestors as far as settling Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, over the last 100 years, we have led the nation in reintroducing species. We value our wildlife extremely well here within the state. And you think about some of these species we've reintroduced, like white-tailed deer and wild turkey, elk, osprey, peregrines, bald eagles, fisher, beaver, all these things that we brought back, and otters, absolutely. And so we think about these species we brought back and this legacy that we have here within the state and how important that is, not just for our generation, but for generations to come. And what folks have done for us that we enjoy, that we can do now for our kids, our grandkids.
So there you have it. That's what the critter looks like. He's just about that big. I think he's really cute. His face is cute. I really think that that's a real incredible little critter there. Now we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Tom about a possibility of reintroducing them into the state of Pennsylvania. So stick around.